Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. And today's video is going to have a Chelsea flavour to it. I'm going to be discussing Chelsea players' performances in the group stage of the World Cup. But before I get into it, guys, please make sure you smash the likes on this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And also, do you think England can win the World Cup? Let me know, guys. Let's dive right into this video then. 15 players in total from Chelsea at the World Cup, including the 3 that are on loan. And, you know, it's not been a bad World Cup for Chelsea players so far. League form, as we know, has been absolutely dire, but, you know, a switch of scenery out in Qatar, linking up with the national sides, different systems, different formations, different ideas. And certain Chelsea players are definitely thriving. Let's start with the attackers then. And I'm just going to bring up the Chelsea attackers at the World Cup so far. As Chelsea fans, we know that the attack has been dreadful for a number of years now. But Chelsea attackers at the World Cup so far in the group stage: Kai Havertz with 2 goals and 1 man of the match performance. Hakim Ziyech, a goal, an assist, and a man of the match performance. Christian Pulisic with a goal, assist, and 2 man of the match performances, with Raheem Sterling a goal and an assist to his name as well. So not bad from 3 games for Chelsea's attacking players there. Well, Sterling's only played 2. Obviously, Pulisic, Ziyech, and Havertz have played. Well, actually, Havertz only played about a game and a half as well. But let's start with Kai Havertz. Obviously, divides opinion amongst Chelsea fans. Clearly, he's got immense ability, but you know we don't really know what his best position is. He's not delivered consistently enough in a Chelsea shirt. He hasn't done it at all in the Premier League, if we're being totally honest. And he's kind of dining out on that Champions League winning final goal. And for Germany, it was kind of believed, you know, he's better when he plays for Germany. You know, he's going to be their main guy and whatnot. But ultimately, you know, he started the first game, the loss against Japan. He was terrible, subbed off. We didn't see him at all in the 1-1 draw to Spain. And then again, he was on the bench for the 4-2 win against Costa Rica. And he came on and he scored twice. But ultimately, you know, Kai Havertz, I don't know if he's had a good World Cup or not. Germany eliminated in the group stage again for the second time in as many World Cups. And actually, they haven't gone further than the group stage since they won it in 2014. But for Kai Havertz, I suppose from a Chelsea perspective, Graham Potter will be pleased that Havertz has really only played 1.5 games of football in total. So I guess that's a plus from a Chelsea perspective. But in terms of Havertz for his career, and I think he'll be really disappointed that he's not managed to kind of nail down his spot in the German side. And yes, he's got 2 goals and he's assisted, but his overall play for me has not been good. For Germany, it's a system that many have said suits him better, but ultimately we come away from this World Cup and yes, he might have, you know, added a bit more money to his transfer value, which is going to be far less than Chelsea paid for him anyway if he is, I believe, to be moved on this summer. It's not, I don't really know how Kai Havertz will assess his World Cup. You know, he's been ousted as Germany's centre forward option by a guy 29 years of age, was playing Bundesliga 2 football last season, and he seems to be a better option for Germany going forward. So I don't really know what that says about Havertz and how he fits into that Germany side. He's obviously going to have a future in the national team, but right now he had an opportunity to establish himself as like the main guy going forwards for Germany in this team, and ultimately he didn't deliver in that situation. So he's got to be disappointed with that. But in terms of Kai Havertz, that pretty much for me sums up his World Cup. In terms of the other attackers, I think Hakim Ziyech is another guy that, you know, has been on the periphery at Chelsea. We all know what a talented player is. Probably technically Chelsea's best forward. He's got an absolute wonder of a left foot, but half the time it kind of looks like he can't be bothered, and the Premier League doesn't necessarily suit him. But here for Morocco, you know, they topped their group surprisingly, qualifying for the last 16 for the first time in 36 years, and he's the main man for Morocco. I mean, Martin Keown described him as Neymar's Morocco, as the Neymar of Morocco. Sorry, and I guess he is their main man. And ironically, you know, had Morocco not had a change of manager, Hakim Ziyech wouldn't even be at the World Cup. You know, he was out. He'd retired from international football under the previous manager. They had a massive falling out. New manager comes in, and Hakim Ziyech back in the team, back playing well for his country, and he's had a superb World Cup. I think his performances have been absolutely outstanding, and you know, a goal and assist, a man of the match performance, and he looks like the player that Chelsea paid that money for. Looks like the player that was at Ajax doing so well, and I think two things. One, it is international football, and international football is different, but those performances shouldn't be discredited. I think, secondly, he's fully trusted by the manager of Morocco. He's their main man. Everything goes through him. Everything's built around him, and the system as well. The back three. There's no surprising that Ziyech has played his best football throughout his career in a back three system. He thrived in a back three system at Ajax. He's thriving in the Moroccan national side in a back four system. Thrived at Ajax in a four, thriving for Morocco in a back four. And at Chelsea, his best spells of football have come when we've played back four. I mean, you think back to the Spurs games when we played that 4-2-2 system under Thomas Tuchel. Ziyech was outstanding for all those games that we played with the back four. And I think the back four does definitely unlock the best out of him. But ultimately, whilst these performances should not be discredited at all, in a Chelsea shirt, I'm not sure whether he can replicate that form or not. One, because I don't think Graham Potter trusts him. Two, I'm not sure the Premier League is suited to him. And yeah, I'm not sure where to go. It's so frustrating seeing him play so well. But I think he will be moved on. But ultimately, one, because I don't think he's done well enough, and two, because he doesn't want to be here. But when you see him performing like he is for his country at this level, it's really... It is really disheartening in terms of, like, he's such a good player, but we just haven't seen it for Chelsea. So, but Hakim Ziyech has had a sensational World Cup, and hopefully he can bring that form back to Chelsea. It looks like he may well be moving on in January. AC Milan, a potential destination, and this good form in the World Cup wouldn't have done his hopes of getting a move any harm at all. But yeah, it's been great to see Ziyech playing well, because he is a very talented player, but we just have not seen it consistently enough at Chelsea. And you can put it down to those things: the system, the trust, and the fact that he's the main man at Morocco. He's never going to be made the main man at Chelsea, unfortunately. In terms of Christian Pulisic, again, another guy that's been in the shadows, another guy whose future's been up for discussion. Has he really delivered since he arrived from Borussia Dortmund? Not really. Another guy that's really struggled. He struggled with injuries at the beginning. He struggled for consistency. And at times, I think, particularly this season, he's not been given a fair crack. He's not been given fair minutes to run on the side where he has deserved to get that. And again, like Hakim Ziyech, comes to the national team. He's the main man. The hopes are pinned on him, playing in a back four system. And he's really thrived off that pressure, off being the main man, off kind of carrying his country. And he scored the decisive goal against Iran to take the US through. He's got an assist, and he's put in 2 man of the match performances. And again, why can't he do this for Chelsea? I think it's a number of things. I think it's one, he's not been given a consistent run of games to show what he can do. And, the one time we did get a consistent run of games, which I hate to refer to Project Lockdown Pulisic, but the one time that he got a consistent run of games, he was really good, and he looked like a world beater. He looked like the guy that we paid that money to sign. And, when he's played this season, he's played really well, but he's played well, and he's found himself on the bench for the next 2 games, hardly getting any minutes. So he needs a consistent run of form. And again, I think he's another guy that looks so much better in a back four system, playing as an out-and-out wide man, or an out-and-out guy that can, roam freely across that front line. And at Chelsea, he doesn't get that. He often finds himself playing as wing-back. And again, I don't think he's got the trust of the manager either. And those are really key things, the back four system, and most importantly, the trust of the manager to go out there and to express himself, and to kind of know that he's not going to be hooked off if a few things go wrong, like he would be at Chelsea. But it's been a really promising World Cup for Christian Pulisic, and I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing what he does against Holland in the last 16. And then to round out the attackers, we've got Raheem Sterling, who was dreadful against the US, looked like his Chelsea self in that game against Iran. He was good in the opening game for England. He got a goal and an assist, and was obviously unused against Wales. It's a big World Cup for Sterling. Sterling, more often than not, has delivered for England whenever he's been called upon. He started every major game in a tournament bar the Wales game, before the Wales game, during the Southgate tenure, apart from against Belgium in 2018. So Southgate has got immense loyalty to Sterling, and more often than not, he's repaid it to him. But again, Sterling's an interesting one. I mean, for me, he shouldn't be in the team for the game against Senegal, but let's see what Southgate does with that. But it's really important that Sterling finds some good form in this World Cup to take back to club level, because he's not hit the heights that we expected of him after his move from Manchester City, and he's got to do better. He's got to offer more, but also Potter needs to look at how Southgate utilises Sterling, and perhaps look to use him in that way for Chelsea as well. And it's another player that looks to be playing better in a back four system. I mean, Sterling has predominantly played in the back four throughout his career. Chelsea operating in a back three currently. And I don't know if it's any surprise that all these attackers seem to be operating better, playing in a back 4 system. So maybe that's something that we'll look to switch towards next season. Obviously, Chelsea need looking to get in a defensive midfield player and whatnot. But yeah, until that happens, I think we're going to be pretty much sticking with the 4 going forward. I wanted to move on to Senegal, who got 2 Chelsea players present in Kalidou Koulibaly and Edouard Mendy, 2 players that have struggled. Obviously, not as much in Koulibaly's case as in Edouard Mendy's case. Mendy, obviously, phenomenal season last season. Integral in that Champions League run, was obviously AFCON winner with Senegal as well. But he's gone for a real dip in form at the start of the season, found himself out of the side, replaced by Kepa, and obviously got in towards the last few games before the World Cup. And he had a couple of decent-ish games. The World Cup, a chance of obviously Mendy to play regular football, and he made 2 errors. He was at fault for both goals against Holland in Senegal's opener, but he's kind of gone on to redeem himself, and he's a good goalkeeper. I think Christopher Lokion, I probably slightly butchered that pronunciation, the former Chelsea goalkeeping coach, saying that Edouard Mendy is a very good goalkeeper, and he's just going for a difficult time, and you got to stick with him. And I think that is exactly right. I'm not saying that he's the long-term Chelsea number 1 or that he should be Chelsea number 1 again this season. He has to prove that. He has to prove that, and Kepa has to have a drop-off in form to warrant him being replaced by Mendy. But Mendy, other than the 2 mistakes in the Holland game, has played really well. Fantastic save in the game against Qatar, and he was really good in the game against Ecuador as well. So hopefully he can build on that. Obviously got England in the round of 16, could be on his way home. But yeah, it's been a promising World Cup for Mendy, and he's managed to put those mistakes to bed that he made in the first game, and he's looked pretty solid since. And Koulibaly is another guy that has slightly struggled since he arrived from Chelsea, perhaps not quite hit the heights that we expected from him, but he's played really well for Senegal. He's the captain of that country. He leads that team like the warrior he is. And it's another player that, again, he looks more comfortable playing in a back 4 than he has done for Chelsea in a back 3. Got the decisive goal for Senegal in their winner-takes-all match against Ecuador, and he played really well. As you can see his performance here, 54 touches, 10 clearances, won all his ground duels, scored a goal, 3 aerial duels, won. He put in a really good performance. I don't think it's any surprise to see him playing his best football in a back 4 as well. And hope the big thing is, hopefully these guys can take their form for their countries back to Chelsea and put that into place for the second half of the season, because I know it's different players, different managers, different systems, but confidence is confidence in football, no matter who you're playing for and where you're playing. So hopefully these guys can come back having put good performances in and put their performances right at Chelsea, because it's not been the case in the first half of the season. In terms of other players to touch on, obviously Mason Mount, unused sub against Wales in the final group game. He started against Iran, where he's fantastic on the left side of that 3-man midfield, showing why he gets picked by every manager that he's played under. Didn't have a good game against the US like a lot of players, and was out the side for Wales. And there's debate about his inclusion for the game in the last 16. And it's a really tricky one, because Mount's in there for his work rate, what he does off the ball. I think he's second to none at receiving the ball on the half turn. But you have to argue, would England be better off or be better balanced without him playing? It's a really tricky decision. And he's had a mixed World Cup, I would say. One good performance, one not so good performance. And then obviously, unused in the Wales game. And I think it's a massive call for Southgate whether Mount starts or not in this last 16. And it'll be a massive opportunity for Mason Mount to make the most of that opportunity if he's given the nod to start against Senegal. In terms of other players, Thiago Silva again's been exceptional, keeping clean sheets for Brazil, looking like the rock at the back that he is. Nothing less than you would expect from him. Denis Zakaria obviously not playing a single minute for Switzerland. I don't envisage Conor Gallagher playing any minutes for England either. I think he's just purely there to make up the numbers. But I just wanted to round out by discussing, as I did touch on earlier, is this idea that, people dismissing, as Dan Charles was saying, I totally agree with him. If Pulisic and Ziyech doing well is written off because it's international football, then surely Chelsea fans want club to buy doing well can be written off too. And I think that's a fair point. If you're saying that Ziyech and Pulisic only playing well because it's internationals, but then you're looking at likes of Gvardiol, who's a top player, but is he only playing well because it's internationals? No, the goalposts have got to be the same for the argument. You can't just have the argument for Ziyech and Pulisic, and then for players that you want Chelsea to buy, not then use that same argument, it's only international football. So I think it's really important to remember that yes, international football is different, but you know, it's still a barometer. It still counts. You're still playing football at the end of the day, and those performances should absolutely be taken into consideration when judging a player. It's as simple as that, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I just wanted to round out that video by saying that, guys. If you've watched all the way to the end, thanks so much. As I said, please do smash the likes on the video. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below on this video, and even if you think England can win the World Cup. And I'll be back with another video soon. Take care.